Welcome to the Focus on Why podcast. I'm Amy Rowlandson and I ask my guests one simple question. Why? Focusing on the importance of why, I share with you the relatable, uplifting and inspiring conversations I have with people from all walks of life. This podcast will encourage you to focus on your why to enable and empower you to achieve the success you desire. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why. Today on the Focus on Why podcast, I am joined by Karolina Adamczyk. Welcome.
Thank you, Amy. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Now, you are the Chief Visionary Officer for Ademchic. Have I said that right? How do you say it?
Chief Visionary Officer.
No, the actual company name.
Oh, Ademchic.
Ademchic.
Yes.
So, because your name is Ademchic, the company is Ademchic, but they're spelt very differently. Why is that?
It's impossible to spell my surname. CZYK is just such a crazy way to spell it. We've made it much easier with CHIC.
And why change it to EM from AM?
Just wanted it to be slightly different. So I was just brainstorming with a friend of mine, and she said, "Why? Well, while you're changing the bit at the end, why don't you change the bit at the front?" And then for the next year, I could not spell my surname because I could not remember which one it is. Those are spellings, and doing so many documents, writing both of them, and I just got so confused. So yeah, I'm happy that I've changed it slightly.
So what do you do?
So we help developers create beautiful homes for people that buy it. So either first-time buyer or downsizers, anybody who wants to move into a boutique chic home. And then we also package all of the marketing materials so that whoever wants to buy something and they see the brochure or CGIs, they see that vision for their new home. We create that with our marketing. So we take all of the design bits from the development process. We take care of that.
And every project's different.
Every project is different, and it's just super exciting to create, and also that's not only because of location or buyer that is buying, each of the individual projects. It's just because we want to have some fun, and repeating the same thing on every single project is so boring. So yeah, even though sometimes we work with repeat clients, and some of our clients just want to say, "Can you do the thing we've done in?" And we're like, yeah, we can do. And then we do something completely different because we just go off the rail and we create another stunning home.
So why create a new identity for every development?
I think people want to live somewhere that's different. And I have always done that. I come in and the first thing I think about, and that excites me big time, to think about how you can add value and change the space I'm in. And we want guys who don't want to go through all of the refurbishment process, which is, it's not that much fun. We just want them to move into something that doesn't look like the house builder next door, that looks like individually designed home that just completely feels like them. And sometimes we will not probably relate to the whole of the market, and the projects that are Ademchic designed will be more expensive because of that. They're boutique. The developers would put so much effort to creating those really nice homes. So yeah, I think that those few buyers who are looking for the design, the style, the differentiation, they would fall in love with them, and they have.
So when you go on to a new project, you're creating that vision, and it's easy for you. You literally see the end piece straight away. You can see it in your eyes when you're sort of talking about something just now.
My voice.
Yeah. And so how do you get that onto paper or onto computer?
We do a lot of photorealistic visualization because I think people don't immediately know, even when we explain it or show them some images from Pinterest or whatever, our clients and the contractors don't know what we're looking for. So the way to really control the impact and to get exactly the product that we want, we design it in tools that just gives us this photorealistic effect, and we're like, this is exactly what we want. Like, these are the colors, these are the handles, and these are all the items. We work with a lot with suppliers, and to make sure that we specify every single bit of the development. And that goes back to my control freakness, I think. And there's just making sure that every detail, that there is no space for interpretation, which happens so often on construction sites. When we give people the drawings with correct items in it, technical drawings, and the design pack, specification down to a skirting board, like, there is no interpretation there. They have to deliver what we've designed.
So when you're working with a developer and you're working with them quite early on in the process, you're controlling, as you say, the impact. And
Yeah.
how difficult is that conversation to have with a developer to sort of get them on board that that this is going to work?
I think they trust us, and the name is quite known right now in our little boutique industry. So I think they trust us with the designs. And to be honest, most of the time when we prepare the first design concept, we are showing it to the client, and they go like, "Wow!" Like, they're really wowed by it, and we need to be wowed by it in the office as well. So it will not go out to anyone unless I'm happy with it, which causes a lot of disruption, to be honest, because when there's 8 people designing there and I only have limited amount of time, and then I come in and veto something and they have to go back to the drawing board. They try to involve me on all hours of the day right now, so I just get Slack messages all the time, like, what do you think about that? Do you like that? Do you this like this? So that it doesn't get stopped at some point in the future. And interestingly, I was just reading a book about Steve Jobs and about what a perfectionist he was, and how he would stop the whole design process because he didn't like a button on the new really released Mac. And I just feel so much better now that I read it. That there is another level. I'm probably not at that level, but I very often will say, no, guys. I mean, that cannot go to client because it needs a LED light here and needs something extra here, etc.
But having that sort of eye for detail and that control freakedness, as you call it, it makes so much of a difference, because you want everything to be absolutely spot on.
Yeah, and you know what? It never will, because it's construction, and at some point there will be something that either you don't have that tile anymore, or something will happen, and it will not be 100% there. But if it's 90 something percent there, then we're really happy.
And have you always been in construction?
No, this is just a recent thing. So I've got the bug for property. I think was always doing my own places up, and even at uni when I would rent the worst house that you would never like dare to go into, but then my room would be like immaculately painted and replastered and God knows what. And for me that made all the sense, because you pay so much less on rental per month, but then the effort that you need is like maybe a couple of weeks of effort, and then you live in that place for a couple of years and it's beautiful. So I've just continued doing this. I've done my own projects. I've done a crowdfunding campaign at some point, through which I got a bunch of friends who are even in our network right now. So yeah, I think I just got the bug, and I left banking where I was before, to pursue the bit that I enjoy the most. And I actually call the interior design, I call instant gratification, because once you've done the development process and done everything from funding and getting your loans together, dealing with investors, and then coming out dealing with contractors, when you only have to do the bit that you love, it's like, oh, it's beautiful. So yeah, we appreciate our clients, developers, because I've done it and I know that that's not the easiest of jobs. So yeah, but at the moment it's just instant gratification. We prepare a project, we present it to the client, give them a pack, and we move on and we do the same beautiful design on the next one.
So, how does banking fit into the picture? Because that's quite a departure to what you're doing now.
Totally. It is a departure, and so I never really had a plan for life on I'm going to be a banker or I'm going to be this or that. I just always kind of went with the flow, the direction that I wanted to pursue, the next logical, crazy move that I could make, which actually led me to like live in Poland in the middle of my studies, to study in Belgium, then staying in Belgium for way longer than I planned. Rather than half a year, I stayed there 2.5 years. I finished my degree there. Then I got a job, which turned out to be in Holland. I mean, it was in Belgium, but ultimately they've proposed that I move to Holland for it. I got a job here in the UK, then in the US, then I came back here, and it's like every opportunity that comes my way, it's never planned, but when it appears, I get really excited about it, and I pursue it. So banking just happened to be one of the opportunities that came at some point. Got into financial services. I've worked for a company, a Dutch company, part of a bank for almost 7.5 years, and traveled with them everywhere. I had an amazing career with them. And then I just went on and did a couple of years in a major UK bank. And from but I think the whole journey is actually, it's a journey of like reinventing yourself all the time, because when you move countries, you're basically losing the life you've had, even though you might be on a WhatsApp with your friends or your family. Ultimately these relationships are slowly like deteriorating, I guess, when you are building or your new life in a new country. And I find that really exciting. I really love it. So I think that this reinvention, going from all these countries, then different jobs, and then ultimately 4 years ago or 3 years ago, going from a different career, which is a huge step. Like you lose the ground from underneath your feet. That's how I would describe it, because initially you have a great job, you've built your career for me for 10 years to get to that level, quite a high level within the banking environment, and then to drop all of that and have no income, have to start building the team for myself and look for clients in a completely new industry. It's not something that I've done, it's just building from scratch. And that was really, really interesting.
And what gave you the confidence to jeopardize that career, that stability, to start something from scratch?
I think, there is not one thing that can give you such confidence, because so many, I think it's always really scary, that there is the fear of what if it doesn't happen or it doesn't end well. I'm just going to spend all the money that I don't have at the time. I didn't really have so much financial backing, but I just decided that I've been loving doing this. I love it, and it's almost like I don't have kids, but I think it's like having kids. Like there is never a good time to do it. So changing your career and giving away everything that you have, that you've built until now, is one of those crazy moves. Like there is never a good time. So I just came to that realization. I'm doing a lot of self-development work. I've been working through with the life coach at the time, really trying to figure out what I love to do and how I could do more of that. I've been following Tony Robbins, who I love, and going on his events, and just every time deciding that, okay, do you know what, I'm just going to take the next step and the next step and the next step. And one of these steps was change careers. And and there is no good time, and you can only do it with support of so many people and so many influential, I guess, people who also like tell you to just trust your gut.
And I like the sort of way you describe it. You talk about the next logical crazy move. I mean, it's quite a juxtaposition between those two words, logical
Totally.
and crazy. Is that just kind of describes you though?
Totally. Maybe it does describe me, because I think what I mean by crazy is something that maybe normal people would consider a little bit risky. But the way I add logical to it is that it's not completely, I have a plan ultimately. I'm not quitting a job for nothing, in most of the cases when I was moving countries, I already had something lined up to go there. So I guess the last one actually, when I did quit my career, I had 3 clients who were my best friends, really lined up to go straight into. What I didn't know at the time is that you constantly have to work on your pipeline. There's not just these 3 clients automatically then populate into a number of clients. You do have to, especially very early on, work simultaneously on your pipeline and on the deals that you're doing at the time. So I guess it just followed like a fairly miserable year, but it would be a year miserable from the financial perspective, but 100% not the other life fulfillment perspective, because I was just so happy getting up and just doing what I wanted to do. Like all the rest didn't matter for me at all. And I just at the moment, haven't gone through this setting up business and really every week reinventing the business, because that's what it is once you are an business owner, and then you have a bigger team and a bigger team and a bigger team. Disruption, I would maybe call it, disruption and reinvention. So I think that sort of thing just teaches you that you do have to be happy regardless of whatever happens. Just follow the plan, never give up, because there is a better thing just around the corner.
And where does all this drive come from?
So it's really funny that's the question that just got stuck with me since we spoke a couple of weeks ago, and I was thinking about it quite a bit. And the reason why I probably initially, when we were chatting, I didn't mention it initially, is because I believe in never looking back. That's like people get so stuck in the history and their story, and something that happened 20 years ago. And maybe because I'm so into Tony Robbins, who constantly repeats that you invent your own journey, right? The journey that has happened doesn't define you. And then I never actually think about where that sort of drive and how that all happened. But then our friends challenged us to think about our backstories, and it all came out. And I think the drive comes from spending my childhood in a place that's really doesn't have any opportunities, and being conditioned by my family to search for opportunities, and actually conditioned to search for them abroad as well. Because I've been born in Poland, who at the time in the early 80s, there was nothing in shops. You had to wait in queues for bread, and you couldn't buy anything really, like even a toy in a shop. Like there was just nothing. And when I was so it's no, my parents wanted to give me and my sister the most opportunities so that we get out of this a hole, or a place where they felt stuck when they were younger. And when we finally were allowed in 1990, when the border opened, they packed us up in a car. They drove us to Italy for 2 weeks, and we went every single year after that. But I can't even describe the shock of seeing how much people have from seeing nothing really. Like you would get one teddy bear every Christmas, and that teddy bear, my parents had to save up dollars to buy it in this one shop who was selling stuff for dollars. And then to go to a place where everything is available. I just remember this a shock of walking on a market, like the street markets as a kid, and I was probably 7 or something like that, and just not understanding how there is so much stuff here. And I think that's that sort of shock of seeing there is so much more to the world than the emptiness of Polish shelves earlier in my life, plus the constant conditioning of you can do whatever you want to do, which is I could be only thankful to my parents for constantly telling me and my sister that opportunities are endless, and go and search for them. that's, I think, what started the drive, and then I just fueled it. And you could say that, it's kind of the drive is coming from a negative place, which I don't actually feel that way. When I think about it, I guess it's not the most positive story. It's just coming from a place of no opportunities, really tiny village that no one ever goes to university or whatever. They don't go abroad unless they are cleaning houses. And actually, a lot of people in my village probably still consider and believe that I am cleaning houses here. But I think just that sort of thing, just not coming from a negative place, just gives you a lot of drive, and you want to see what's next, and you want to challenge yourself, and just, yeah, just I guess figure out your where the next big thing is.
So having that vision from an early age of seeing the opportunities and then thinking, it must have been sort of like, well, the world is literally my oyster. I can do whatever I want. Hence the traveling,
Yeah,
the creation, the vision.
yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it was really interesting, just seeing it as a little baby, I think, because it's such a black and white world, like you leave a certain place, and then suddenly you end up like almost like in a movie, walking the streets that you've never seen anything like it. And it's really credit to my parents for challenging me and my sister and themselves. Like we weren't a family that had money, but they would always every year like save up enough so that we could have these 2 weeks in a different place somewhere in Italy. They loved Italy. And just get, I guess, we got such buzz from it, and it just felt like, that nothing is stopping us from having that in our lives, which I guess many kids might that grew up at the same time in the same some small village somewhere, that they wouldn't feel that they have an option, that wouldn't feel like an option to them. I think I'd never think about this as a story, because it no longer defines me like I define myself, and I set my future. That's what I focus on. But I guess, like if I had to think, I was challenged to think about my why and about my backstory, and I think that's where a lot of drive comes from.
And how does it influence your decisions of recruiting people on your team?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. I don't think it has to do with recruitment per se, like my upbringing or where I come from. I do love hiring Polish people because I'm really direct, and sometimes sometimes it's really hard to say something. I don't have so much time and focus, I guess, to explain something in a different way. So I will always be very direct, and not everybody appreciates that. So I think historically my team had quite a few Polish people in it, but I found a way, something that works for us, because we're a small business, we're really driven, we're only 1A players, like B plus is not good enough. And I think for us, it's really the person that worked in a small business before understands that you have to do everything. There is no such thing like, oh, that's not my job. And has some sort of different motivation very often. So, they come to this country and they're looking for their first job, or they came a while back and they didn't quite find what they want to, or they want to change careers. That additional motivation that just makes I could feel that they would love to do this job. I think it's more important, that drive, than just whoever has the best CV. I'll much rather take someone who has this extra motivation because they want to do what they love, than to take someone who has the same experience we need in 10 different large companies.
And you talk about how you are climbing the ladder in your career. How
Mhm.
how fulfilled do you feel now with your business versus the time in your career and your banking?
That's very interesting. And, I was thinking about that. And I think I felt always felt very fulfilled. And it's maybe scary, like happiness comes within you, right? No external circumstances can influence it. So if you're poor, if you're rich, if you're in a place where like you don't see any opportunities, you can still be happy. That's I believe that 100%. So I think I was really happy working in all of the jobs I had, because my fulfillment came from doing the job right. That's what was really important for me. There is a different sort of fulfillment at the moment, which I think one thing that I didn't enjoy is sitting at my desk every day. And there were days when I was just sitting there going in my head, like, I will explode in a second. I can't sit here anymore, because I am very much a person who loves moving and doing different things. And, when you're in a job, you do have some flexibility, but not 100%. So some of my managers wanted to kill me in different times when I decided to do projects I enjoy, but I think ultimately the problem was that you don't have the freedom. You can still be really fulfilled from your job, but you do have to follow some rules, which I have a problem with. Generally, I'd rather not follow rules. Yeah, I'd rather set my own rules.
So, talking about rules, do you almost perceive what you're doing now a bit like a game? It's fun. There's lots of elements. There's lots of moving pieces to it.
Uh, it's an interesting question. I don't know what I perceive it as. I think I perceive it as I always perceive everything in my life the same, as a development opportunity. And if something hasn't quite happened like I wanted today, the thought is, how could this be improved, and why it didn't quite happen like I wanted it. And I discuss it. I hope my team would say that I mentor them that way quite a bit. After a call, this is how you should have said it. This is what would work better. So I think it's just waking up to the day, seeing what it brings, and then very often I go completely off the rail from what I planned that day, because the team needs so much attention that I get like 10% of my to-do list done, but it's always different, and I love it. I love that.
And how much fun do you have in your day, or is it all serious?
I am very serious, as you know, Amy. So yes, I can be very serious. Business is serious, professional. I think having fun is actually one of my big goals. Being a little bit more relaxed and taking some time off now and then, because I guess when you do what you love, you get stuck in it, and you sit there and you're like, you just want to do more and more and more and more of that. But what I always forget is that there is a thing called personal life. Personal life. Yes, sorry, I couldn't not even pronounce it, like personal life. And because I'm doing what I love in my professional life, it almost feels like, well, I've had enough fun. Like I don't have to go out after this. I've just had 8 hours of doing cool projects, overseeing people, chatting about, would this handle work better than the other handle, or is that branding nicer than the other branding colors we're coming up with. I think there's so much fun in that.
Do you ever switch off?
Switching off, I is easy. Yeah, I do actually, but it's not a natural. I think, especially for women, it's not a natural thing to do, because we're always like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do that. So I consciously decided that I'm gonna learn it as a skill, and I have. So it's possible, ladies, if you're listening, it's possible to just compartmentalize. Oh, I don't know.
Compartmentalize.
Compartmentalize, so that you close that door when you leave the office. I just consider, okay, this is my last email, I will not look at my emails anymore. I switched all notifications off on my phone, so people can call me or text me. Those are the only two things, and Slack me, but that's only my team. Those are the only three ways to get in touch with me when I wanna, when I'm not looking at my phone. And I'm not looking at my phone a lot of the time. Which is hard, because my friends, they all use WhatsApp or Messenger, and sometimes I don't respond for 3 weeks, and then suddenly show up, like you might have experienced that a few times. So, but that really works for me, because that allows me to have the downtime when I don't feel like I have to be looking at my phone. Or looking at my computer. I just watch a movie, and and that's fine. And you do have to learn that skill if you're making decisions all day, if you have decision fatigue at 10 a.m. And everybody just requires your constant attention. There needs to be balance.
And you talked about hiring a life coach to help find what you love doing. And you talk about Tony Robbins. What impact has sort of coaching and personal development had on your life?
It's changed it completely, because I think we very often we are stuck in our heads, and some things we allow ourselves to do, some things we don't allow ourselves to do. There is a lot of limiting beliefs, and I have an amazing group of friends when we just go limiting belief, like when we hear someone speak something that is might not be entirely true, then we really shout out, so that they can improve as well. And for me, just being able to run these thoughts in my head, which are not they are not objective, like I came up with these. I've been programmed to think that at some point in my life, and they might not be true, but I am thinking them, and it's really important for me to shout it out and to run it by other people. And sometimes you don't run it by your friends because you think it's so ridiculous, or you're so vulnerable if you say out loud what's your biggest limiting belief or fear is. It sounds, you wouldn't even say it to yourself out loud, really. But when you are forced in a situation where someone is helping you and asking you those questions, that's when the crazy ideas that you've just been where programs are programmed somewhere deep in your body right now, because you've been carrying them for 30 years or whatever, that they come out in those processes. So I'm all up for doing this sort of work, and I will always do it because I'm hooked. But also I think that you don't have to always pay professional. Like if you have a group of friends, and I do, that are gonna be there for each other, and every time someone is a little bit down, we support ourselves. And and building that group of friends is a huge thing, because people relate very much on the negativity in the world, and they relate to the bad things that happen to them. But it's very hard to find friends who relate to the good things as well. So I think they could be your accountability buddies. Not necessarily, you don't have to follow Tony Robbins. You just have to find accountability buddies that are going to be there for you and call you out.
Absolutely. And I'm with you on that. And you mentioned having sort of losing friends as you move from country to country and
Mm.
those relationships deteriorated. Obviously, it's now a key part of what you do, and you've involved a business around your friendship group. How does that serve you now?
Yeah, it's interesting because I am so embedded in the property industry, and now we created a community around it, the Property Sisters, which anybody who's listening, go on YouTube, check us out, and that is my life, really. Those are my friends. So I think once you are really, you open your heart, and you are in that, are showing people also some vulnerability, I guess, and you are just yourself, you build those really strong relationships. But at the same time, as I'm building those relationships, loads of other relationships are suffering, and I'm losing them, because I'm growing all the time, and that's okay. I am happy about that. And if there is a relationship that's not growing with me, that's just natural, a natural cycle of life, kind of, that is not going to follow. And sadly, that happens quite often for romantic relationships. When two people don't grow at the same pace. And I haven't cracked the code on that one yet. I don't know quite how to handle that. But yeah, I think I'm really, I put a lot of effort into being there for my friends, and they're very close to me, and they're very, very often property sisters or brothers. Yeah,
So, work in progress on that one. Awesome.
totally. Yeah, it's always work in progress. The nature of life is reinvention and constant changes. So you're never settled, and you're never in a I'm on my final leg of the journey, because tomorrow something crazy might happen and you're just gonna grab another opportunity and just go for it.
There goes that word again, crazy. And to be fair, opportunity. I think crazy opportunity might be the title of your podcast.
I love crazy opportunities. If anybody has crazy opportunities that they would like to propose to me, 100% call me.
Okay, so that's decided. It's called Crazy Opportunities. So what's next on the horizon for you, Karolina?
So what's next on the agenda is 100% working with the community that we've already created and empowering our community to create those amazing businesses and create the lives they want. And, sometimes you don't want to create a business. Sometimes you just want to create a really beautiful life. And I think women have a little bit less self-belief, self-esteem, and they need that gentle push to succeed in what they want to do. So I love running an accountability group. I love seeing ladies just go the next step and achieve what they want to do. So that's 100% on my agenda this year.
That's great. So imagine you've got a development and you need to come and speak to you. At what point should a developer speak to you?
As soon as they have a site to discuss. So I think it's, quite often they keep it till the last minute, which is too late for us. So, as you're creating that product, appointing your contractors, having an idea of what the contractor has to do is great, because then you're not signing a contract for some sort of vision that each of you might have a different vision in your head. So as soon as possible, come to us and have a chat.
That's fantastic. And where will they find you?
Easiest way is to find us on Instagram, Ademchic, Ademchic, or follow me on LinkedIn. Just drop me a note to say that you've listened to this podcast, and I'll add you to my network. There's so much interesting stuff happening on LinkedIn. I love it. I am hooked. I have my weekly session when I go and review everything. So definitely add me there, Karolina Adamczyk.
That's fantastic. And Karolina, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been really, really fun hearing why you move so much, why you believe that people can do whatever they want, and how you've turned your not turn your life around, but how you've had various impacts and the crazy opportunities. I love them. They're brilliant.
Crazy opportunities. Whoever is listening, you can 100% turn your life around tomorrow. Just focus on what you want to do, write that plan and do it.
Thank you for listening to the Focus on Why podcast. I'm Amy Rowlandson, and if you've enjoyed this episode, please leave me a 5-star Apple Podcast review. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook, and become a member of my inspiring, uplifting and positive Focus on Why Facebook group. I help people to focus on their why with clarity, uniting their passion with their purpose with a plan to create the life they truly desire. If you would like me to help you focus on your why, then please book a free 20-minute coaching call via calendly.com/Amy Rowlandson. And if you haven't already, please sign up for the Friday Focus weekly newsletter via my website, amyrowlandson.com. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why.